Let's take a look at all the communication methodologies that we have learned inside Aura framework, like how you can communicate between two different components. So here in our word shuffle game application, we have 4 different custom components. The first one is board panel component. The second one is the board component, which is the child of the board panel component. The third one is the block component, which is the child of board component and grandchild of board panel component. We will have another custom component which we will call game result component, where we will show all our previous games result. Now let's take a look at how we can communicate among these components. The first scenario could be how we can communicate from board panel component to the board component, and we already know the answer. You can either use your public attributes or you can also use Aura methods to pass some data or to communicate from your parent component to the child component. The second scenario could be communicating from the board component to the block component, and they also share same relationship, so the answer would be public attributes and Aura method. The third scenario could be communicating from the block component to the board component, and we know we can use component event to talk to our parent component from the child components. And another scenario could be talking from the block component to your board panel component. And in this scenario as well, you can use component event. So it doesn't matter if you have a parent component or grandparent component, the component event will work in the same way. And the same thing will apply when we'll communicate from the board component to the board panel component. Now our sixth scenario will make it interesting. How we can communicate from our board component to our game result component, or how we can communicate from our game result component to our board panel component. These components doesn't share any type of hierarchy, so we don't know the answer yet. But I'm going to tell you the answer now. We can have something called application event to talk between two different components who doesn't share any type of hierarchy or if they are completely separate. And this application event work on all the previous scenarios as well. So this means you can use application event to communicate between any type of components. Doesn't matter if they are in same hierarchy or not. But it doesn't mean that you should use application event everywhere. You should only use it when it is absolutely necessary, because having too many application events will slow down your application and it will have its own consequences. That means if multiple components on the same page are listening for the same application event, you cannot control which component should ignore this application event and which one should handle it. So the best practice would be to always use public attributes, component event and Aura methods, where you need to create a communication channel. But if all these three cannot help you, or if you have two separate components, then only you should go for application events. Now let's learn more about application events. The application event can be handled by any Aura component irrespective of their component hierarchy, and the only condition here is these components should be on the same page. So this means if a component is firing the application event from the home page and you have another component on a record page, then that component cannot listen for the events being fired from the home page. It can only be handled within the home page itself. So that's the only condition that application event has. And it's super helpful when you are working with single page applications. Now let's see how you can fire an application event. It's pretty simple. Instead of getting the event from component variable, this time you will be getting your event using $a variable, which is the Aura framework itself. Because these application events, they are not tied to a particular component, they are part of the framework itself. Once you get an event, you can set the parameters and you can use your fire method to fire the event. Now in order to handle it, we are going to use our same old handler. So that means you need to use Aura:handler component here. You need to define your event name and then the action attribute where you will supply your controller method name. So now let's go back to our Salesforce org and we will see how we can use an application event there. So first of all, we do not have any result component here. Once we will add that result component, then we would like our result component to auto refresh as soon as we complete a game here. So that's our best use case to use application event in our word shuffle game. But along with that, I'll show you one more use case here where we can use our component event as well or application event as well. So we need to disable this reshuffle button when we load this page, and once you finish a game, then we need to enable it once again. And this reshuffle button is inside the board panel component, but this game finishes within the board component. So we need some communication channel between our board component and the board panel component. And as we know, we can use component event here. But this time I'm going to use application event because this same event will be helpful for us to show the results as well.